For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
It's Antron Brown, driver of the Macro Tools Top Fuel Dragster, and yes, I'm a 3-time world champ. But you know what? When I win, I go straight to WFO Radio, baby. I want to see you listening in.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. WFO Radio back on the air. We're getting ready to head to Topeka, Kansas for the Menards NHRA Kansas Nationals presented by Pet Armor out there in Topeka, the capital of Kansas. It's going to be great getting back out on the road, seeing everybody doing the deal this past weekend. What a weekend of NHRA drag racing and drag racing just in general. Reinhart was out there at Route 66, US 131, had the Nitro Ninja going up against the Greekette, the Night Under Fire at Norwalk, plus countless other races on this midsummer off weekend. And I can't wait to talk about all of that. Plus, we had some big money bracket racing. Troy Williams Jr. going to be on the show. Troy, of course, very knowledgeable about FTI performance products, but also one of the greatest of all time, big money bracket racers, had a tremendous emotional victory and some craziness happened in the final round that when I heard about it, just had to reach out to Troy to get the firsthand version of the story. As a racer myself, way back in the day, just the ability to process things so rapidly. We're going to speak with Troy later on in the show. Alan Reinhart's just seconds away. All you folks out there, we encourage you, hey, share the show, man. Share the show. Let's get the word of drag racing out there amongst all our friends. I feel like we got some good stuff going on. We're going to talk about the NHRA Camping World Series and all that is associated. But also the people who make it possible, got to give them a name check at the beginning, like Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. I'm finishing an episode of Hidden Horsepower right now that you guys are going to love. One of those Lake Speed Jr. over-the-top mentalist episodes, right? With, the guy's a doctor of science. He's joining us. It's pretty amazing stuff. You're going to love it. But it's all an exercise that you understand that piston ring technology has advanced dramatically, and the old thing that you were doing a couple of years ago that seemed to work really well has been improved upon. And you might make some changes to get much better results. Call the guys at Total Seal. Go to their website, ask some questions, download the podcast, and you can raise your game for your customers, for all you engine builders. It's as simple as that. Folks at Phillips Connect, on board with WFO Radio. Smart trailer technology. For those of you in the transportation industry, and believe me, I have been speaking with people in the transportation industry for, closing in on 20 years. Back to my satellite radio days when the over-the-road truckers were the people who first adopted satellite radio and podcasts, frankly, because they didn't want to keep checking for the local radio stations. They wanted something reliable. They've been adopting technology in the transportation industry right away. Well, it's the same for Phillips-Connect.com, except these sensors are keeping them safer on the road. They're keeping them more efficient. They're helping them get connected, know what's going on with the load back behind the driver. Just constant innovation going on with folks at Phillips-Connect.com. Go to the website, find out more. And it is a business to business kind of entity. But if you are in the trailer business, you definitely want to get on board with Phillips-Connect.com. Folks at Bernie's Speed Shop in Ocala, Florida. Josh Hart's company that got him started, and now he has excelled. But it's amazing what they are doing with frame-off restorations, classic muscle cars. You can buy, if you just you don't have a car, you want to buy a car. They have inventory. If you have a classic project you want to get done absolutely perfectly, they do it. They do movie props for those of you who are looking for specialty vehicles. Bernie's Speed Shop just bursting onto the scene, doing such a great job. And of course, so is Josh Hart with that entire team. So check them out. What I'm asking my listeners to do is just go and follow their social. What's the action step? Follow their social. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can get it all from their website, berniespeedshop.com, berniespeed.com, bernies.com, and follow their social. And the rest will handle itself. Great stuff. And of course, we already told you a little bit about FTI, Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters. We'll talk about them later. Later on in the show, we'll tell you about Marvin Rodak, Rodak'sCoffeeandGrills.com, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. The Powak kids just went there through the class. And so we got another generation of Powaks coming at you. And then samtech.edu. But now let's go out to the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, Tucson, Arizona. This is the preview shot. There he is. And he comes into the shot right on time. The voice of NHRA, Alan Reinhart. Alan, we got 21 comments already. Everybody is like burning up the chat section just to say howdy and good morning and hello and how are you? But we all want to know, how'd it go at Route 66 Raceway?
It went very, very well right up until Mother Nature decided that she wanted to take over on Sunday, and then it came to a screeching halt. But no, it was a solid turnout. A lot of positive energy in the place. I did some local media. There was also some local media that came out to the racetrack. A couple of big names from NASCAR came out to kind of have a look and see what was going on. The mayor of Joliet stopped by and made an appearance. So all things, I think, positive. We'll see what it turns into, if it turns into anything. But the on-track activity was great. And I think the only incident we had was we had a super gas car that dipped the front tires in the beach simply because he lost track of where he was on the racetrack. But it was a really clean race. It was nothing stupid happened. Nobody really tore their equipment up. Nobody bounced off anything. So hopefully it'll leave positive vibes, and we'll see what happens going forward. But I was
tremendous.
Proud to be there, and I thought it was a great event right up until, like I said, Mother Nature decided on Sunday, and that was it.
Well, you can't control Mom Nature. Okay, but let me dig a little deeper. Okay, so I was following Chris McMahon, who ran the race. He was posting some live feeds and everything, but they were all from what I would call restricted areas. And so I couldn't get a vibe at all whether local drag racing fans showed up to support the track or not. It was more racers and staging lanes and whatnot. Did you have some local fan response that said, we want this thing back open?
There were some people there. There were not a ton of people there. I would guess 2,500 probably. And you put 2,500 in Route 66, and that doesn't look like very many. But
no,
most of them were standing, down along the wall and along the fence, trying to be as close as they could. And I will also tell you that, at your basic Lucas Oil race, 2,500 would be a home run. So,
yeah,
it wasn't like there was other than, like I said, I did some local media, did some morning shows, we did some other stuff, but it wasn't like it was a hugely advertised thing. They didn't book in jet cars or funny cars or any of that thing to make it. They wanted this to be a Lucas-specific event, and that's what it was. And I think, it seemed like everybody I talked to was very positive. Everybody I talked to was hoping to come back. Bobby Bodie actually flew back from Texas just so he could come out and support the race. He and his dad were both there, just kind of hanging out and checking things out. So we'll see what happens. But I thought it was very positive from top to bottom, and hopefully it'll turn into something even bigger.
Absolutely. Well, that's great news to hear that the mayor and everybody comes out. We don't need to go into extreme detail about this. I think we're reading from the same music. You have already invested a large sum of money to build this thing. It's built. It's there already. Make something out of it instead of not. And with all the drag racing that goes on in the world now, there's so many things that could potentially happen there, from TV shows to sets to TV commercials to NHRA Nationals to divisionals to Night Under Fire style events. Give it a chance and give us a reason to go to Joliet, because I got to tell you, I live in South Florida. It is a beautiful, wonderful place. What other reason am I going to go drop off a couple of $100 in Joliet, Illinois? Like, I don't know. I love the Blues Brothers. That's cool. It's kind of a cool deal. I know there's a casino there, but this is a reason for me to leave Paradise to go to Joliet, Illinois, which is really cool. They've got food. They've got that Italian shredded beef, obviously Chicago-style hot dogs, all things that make me fat. And Jason Logan and I work on that every time we go there. Please give us a reason, folks. Please give us a reason. But no racetrack, no reason. So let's do it. And good job, Alan. I want to, not that you need it, but you put your heart into it. You put extra effort into it. That was not assigned work, like getting Moody on there and going on Sirius and trying to get people excited. Like, that was all you. And you deserve, a little extra credit for that, because you could have easily said, hey, not my job, man. There's a drag strips. I got a job every weekend. So good job. Whatever the result, that's the way to do it. You put the effort in.
Well, I appreciate it, and I just hope that I hope it turns into something. I always like Chicago. I like the town. I like the racetrack. The local fans, and you mentioned the local food. You left out Chicago-style pizza. Come on, man.
Yeah, well, I'm a North New York. It's too much dough for me. I enjoy it, but it's not my favorite of all the pizzas.
So hopefully it'll turn into something. We'll find out. But and it wasn't just me. Will Tharp put a lot of effort into it.
Yes.
And working with Charlie and the guys at the racetrack and the stuff to all make it happen. So hopefully our efforts will all be rewarded, and we'll have an opportunity to go back there another time or two or more next year.
Let's hope. That's what I hope. And great market. The first races there were tremendous, and then it kind of died down. Yes, they have to get rid of some of the bleachers, man. Get rid of some of the bleachers. Reimagine some things. Have 50,000 per. It's like one of the biggest on the tour, right? I think that place will hold 40 something.
It'll hold quite a few, but I'm not a big fan of getting rid of or covering up bleachers. I'd rather figure out a way to sell more tickets. And, you've certainly got a big enough population center there. So, let's come up with what it's going to take to get more people to come out there. And maybe even if we give them, whatever, like in Indy, they're going to be doing concerts in Indy.
Concerts.
During the course of the day. Now, if that's something that would get somebody to come out that wasn't going to come to the drag strip, come on. And hopefully at that point, it's our job to make them go, wow, this is what drag racing is all about. I need to come see this, because I know you've had the same experience. You take somebody to the racetrack that's never been there before, and the first time they watch a couple of nitro cars go down the racetrack, or even alcohol cars as powerful and loud as crazy as they are right now, they'll sit there and go, I had no idea this is what drag racing was.
Right.
And you make them want to come back. So let's give them a reason. Let's give them an excuse to come out. I think the biggest crowd they ever had at Route 66 was for a concert. So if that's what it takes, then use some imagination. There's a lot of promoters out there that I guarantee you would love to have a stadium that size and that many tickets to sell.
Well, exactly. And my thought, just so people don't understand, I'm not saying to just eliminate seats, but to reimagine areas like modern stadiums with common areas that people want to go and hang out in, like center field of Yankee Stadium or Marlins Park. There's a bar, there's a destination. Let's go over there and watch for a little while. Okay, now let's move over to this other area where something is happening, the Budweiser bar, those kind of things. It's not like people just want to go and sit in their one seat all day long anymore. And our stadiums, I think, need to be reimagined, especially that one, with all the possibility that it has. The beautiful concourses underneath and the TV screens. They've got everything. Give people a little spot to go to, like right next to the tower, those seats to the sides. Make a deck, like make a big flat deck area where people can hang out and watch the cars. Just, of course, I'm spending money. But it's great that the door is open now, that something happened. Like the key to motion is to start moving, and now things are moving. So that is great. But hey, that wasn't the only place, right? US 131. I saw some great shots. I don't know if you saw on social of Gary Pritchett and the Nitro Ninja and Krista Baldwin putting on an awesome match race. They both went down to the stripe. The crowd was packed. Night Under Fire. Like that weekend that we just went through is a big weekend for drag racing in general. Not necessarily the Camping World Series.
Well, you're right, and don't leave Boise out of it. Boise had their annual Night of Fire, Night Under Fire, or whatever. Their big booked-in show that was out there this weekend, also, which is huge bracket race. And I know, a lot of guys from Arizona tow up there just to go up there and be a part of the bracket race deal because they put big bucks up for grabs. So, yeah, it was definitely a big weekend for drag racing, even though the Camping World Series was off. And, that's support your local track. How many times have we said it, right? For everybody that's out there, I hate my track. My track's a dump. My track sucks. They're closing my track. I can't believe I'm losing my track.
Right. I'll go next time. I'm busy. It's too hot. The wife or the husband's got something for me to do. I don't know. There's always an excuse. No, you got to get out there and support your local track. Obviously, folks, Boise, you mentioned Boise. I saw some video come out there. They had an issue on the starting line. I don't want to get into the specifics of that because I don't know them, but, very serious moments out there. And, in a Street Outlaws taping, there was an incident. There were some incidents out there. It wasn't a clean weekend, to say the least. Of course, our hearts and thoughts and everything that we care about goes out to those folks. But, the specifics of the medical situations, I don't know. But, drag racing it's a next level intensity sport. We all know that when we get involved.
Yes, and we've talked about it here before. We're out there dealing with incredibly powerful machines that reach amazing speeds in a very short period of time. We ain't playing with yarn balls. So there's a reason that, we've got all the safety equipment, we've got all the rules, we've got all of it, but you still got to understand that when you're traveling at those speeds, if things go wrong, they go wrong sometimes in a hurry. So, that's part of, I think, the allure, both for drivers and the fans, is to come out. Nobody ever wants to see anybody get hurt, but to come out and see what might happen. Watch somebody, whether it's blowing the body off of a funny car, whether it's, a top fuel car and a big wheel stand, whether people want to see some of that extreme stuff. And again, I don't think anybody wants to see anybody get hurt, but you understand when you're going to an event, when we're doing things like what we're doing, when things go wrong a little bit, sometimes that can go wrong a lot in a hurry.
Absolutely. Just a little closed circuit to Troy Williams Jr., who Troy's going to be on the show. I don't know if you know, he won 10 grand. Dave Connolly just won 100 grand this past weekend, right? I love when, I'm going to go hit Dave up for like $100 because, I know he's got it this weekend. Like, hey, Dave, you got any extra coming out of your pockets?
Oh, what was the split? I mean, he probably,
Yeah, exactly. They make sure they're going to get it. But Troy, it's going to be about 15 minutes or so. You're on a little early, just so you know, because we're going to preview the race. I want to let you know that you're on early. You can reconnect. You can stay down there. You can hang out. You can watch. But I just want to make sure that I see you and everything looks good. So let's talk about Kansas, Alan. Back to a venue. This is a venue that we almost lost, and they fought, and a lot of people worked very hard to fix, like the crossover bridge, and to do a lot of work and all of these things. And now we're going back there consistently. The folks at Menards have been on board for a few years. Pet Armor, that whole group that works hard to keep this event going. And what I love about it is we're the only game in town, right? You're in the middle of Topeka, Kansas. And when NHRA comes to town, every little store knows about it.
Well, we have a tremendous impact on the community. And, Topeka is not the biggest city on the planet. And so having an event like this, having a number of spectators come in from out of town is a huge impact on the local economy. And that's another thing, that NHRA brings to every market we come to. If we go to some places, we're just another event that comes to town once in a while. But in Topeka, it's a pretty big deal. And we've talked about before that you go to Topeka, every place you go, you go into a CVS, or you go into Applebee's, or you go into McDonald's. Oh, you're here with the races. What do you do? Or which team are you with? Or which car is yours? And the community really rallies behind it. And they understand that they came close to losing their racetrack a few years ago. And I think that has really ramped up support. It definitely looks like it's going to be a little warm out there this weekend. So, hopefully the fans will still come out and support their local racetrack.
My hydration plan is already in effect. Okay, I'm doing my hydration. So let's talk about the Camping World Series a little bit. And that you mentioned concerts at the U.S. Nationals. The U.S. Nationals hype machine is now cranked up. There's going to be concerts, Boomtown Saints, Anna McElroy, Colt Ford. That's going on in association with all the NHRA madness, the Pep Boys All-Star Call-Outs. You got the Funny Car All-Star Call-Out with the kick, the threshold. People are going to be, if you're not trying to get in that, like you don't understand that it's worth a lot of money. We have two races now, Kansas, Brainerd. So give me your top of mind without me prompting you with mine. I want to know what is piquing your interest and what you think deserves attention now with two races remaining before the most important race on the tour, and then obviously the playoffs.
Well, the first thing that I think about in the Nitro ranks in particular is some of the teams that I still think are underachieving, and I certainly don't think I'm telling tales out of school. I think if you'd have told Antron Brown at this point in the season, this is where you'll be, he wouldn't have believed it. Not with the personnel that he had coming back, not with the team that he's assembled, not that I think with all the changes they made over at Coletta Motorsports, if you'd have told them this part of the season, here's where you're going to be, that they would be surprised to hear that. The fact that Cruz Pedregon, although he's run very well at times, I think he should have won a couple of races by now, and I think he'll tell you the same thing. Tim Wilkerson, there's a lot of stuff going on. Indy can be kind of the be-all, cure-all, but it's very rare that if you haven't at least got something going in the right direction, you snap your fingers and make it better there. Indy also, of course, 1.5 points, and so that will set what the countdown to the championship seeding goes like. So there's certainly some extra points up for grabs there for the guys that can get them. But I think, you've got the next couple of weeks, which are going to be back-to-back. So you need to be ready to go and get after a couple of races, even though it's certainly close enough. If you wanted to swing the rig back through Indianapolis before it went to Brainerd, you could, but I don't believe most of the teams are planning to do that. I think they're loaded up and getting out there, and they've got to have, not quite Western swing inventory, but they've got to have enough inventory to go out there and get after it.
Yeah, well, exactly. I got that opportunity to work with the TV crew out there in Seattle, and Todd Venny sent me on a mission, and one of the missions was to get, a note from, crew chief and Top Fuel, right? So I felt empowered to go in and see Alan and Brian. Like, if you're going to send me to get somebody, I'm going to the guys that I really want to know. And I had a very interesting 5-minute conversation with those guys that I thought was illuminating, and that no one ever writes them off, right? But I think that there's been a plan going the whole time, and they feel like they're going to have something to compete with during the crunch time, but they're not there yet. And they gave me a couple of different analogies, right? Like one unfolding the layers. And what I took it to mean is it's more challenging to sort something else out that already exists the way it is than it is to start something fresh from brand new. And that's what they're doing. They're going in, they're finding who knows how to do what. They're uncovering things that they would prefer be in another way. They're sorting out all these problems, but they are in a race against time, and they know it. And so I'm wondering, like, okay, we've seen this team coming around a little bit, a couple of semis, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that at the U.S. Nationals, in the countdown, that team reacts differently.
No, but, I think progress is coming a little slower than what they would have liked. And I've had a conversation with them, a couple of conversations with them throughout the course of the season also. But they came into a situation, you look at everything that they've done since they left the Army team, when they went to the All-Navy team, and then they went to Brittany, and then they went to da-da-da-da-da. And they've always kept the whole group intact. And this time they weren't able to do that. So instead of, to put it in football terms, instead of, the head coach and the quarterback bringing their offensive line, bringing their defensive scheme, bringing their coordinators, bringing their staff, and moving into a new stadium, the head coach and the quarterback, well, I guess you'd call Doug the quarterback, but the head coach and the coordinator now have gone in, and they've got to get everybody to go, hey, look, we're not saying the way you did it was wrong. We're saying the way we do it is different, and you now need to adapt to what we do. And I don't think it's any different than the conversation I've had with Bob Tasca a number of times over the course of the last couple of years. Bob Tasca has been expanding the footprint of the Tasca Auto Group, buying dealerships. And they will buy a dealership in, wherever, in Timbuktu, and go in. And it's like, okay, this has been successful. This has been the general manager's like, this is the way we've always done things. Bob says, okay, that ain't the way we do it. Now, you can adapt to our way, or we'll figure out what your severance package is, and good luck in your new place. But there's a certain way that we do it, and we're not saying it's the only way that'll work. We're not saying you have to, but that's the way we do it. And when you go into a situation where the entire team is not used to doing it that way, sometimes it takes a little time to break or erase those old habits and get everybody on the same page. And again, you look at the guys that are working at Coletta's, the vast majority of them, they do have some new young guys over there, but the vast majority of them are guys that have been around for a while. And, well, I've always done it this way. That's not the way we do it, but I've always done it this way. No, you need to adapt. And like you said, sometimes, undoing something and redoing it is tougher than just going in and starting from scratch. But no, I don't think. And I actually had a conversation with David Grubnick and a couple of other guys when we were in Seattle. And one of the guys said, well, I tell you, Alan Johnson's pretty much done. And David said, no, he's not.
Yeah.
He said, if you think anybody out here with a Top Fuel car is looking over there going, well, we don't have to worry about him anymore, then you need to study history a little bit more, because they all know that once everything gets to the way that they want it to be, that they are going to be contenders again. So there's just a lot of stuff that's still going on out there. I love this part of the year because, we're about to find out at Indianapolis and beyond who really has been testing, who really has been holding back, who really has been for whatever reason, and who now thinks that they're ready to charge into the countdown, because we're going to find out at Indy. Nobody's going to pass up Indy and then turn it on at the countdown. They're going to go to Indy, and if you got to switch, that's the place to flip it.
Absolutely. That is the place to flip it. All right. So, Steve Torrence has been bristling all year long, and we've said over and over again about, he's working on stuff and they're working on stuff, and Bobby's like, no, we're racing, and, we're not working. Whatever you ask them, it's kind of the wrong answer. Right? Because they just, what's to talk about, really? Like, what's to talk about? They won 4 championships in a row. They've been the best team head and shoulders this year. They are whatever it is. They haven't won yet. Just statements of fact, right? Do you think they like the countdown format this year?
Sure.
Yes, they do. Right? Like, all of a sudden now it's like the countdown format. Are you for it or are you against it? Well, it gives you first of all, they're still in the points. It's not like they're so far behind that they couldn't come back if they did some amazing things. They absolutely could, but they're in a different position this year. That's the point I'm making, and they can take advantage of something that has been a hindrance to them in the past.
Well, we'll see if they can take advantage of it. But I also wonder, and I don't think there's any doubt, and yes, I understand what Bobby says, but I don't think there's any doubt that in the early part of the season, their main focus wasn't, let's go out and see if we can win 6 races in the first 7. Their main focus in the early part of the season was, let's get this car to a position where we can go on a tear later on in the season. I don't think that they expected to be locked out of the winner's circle this long either. But as you pointed out, it's not like they've been lost. They've had a good car. They've had a fast car. They've come out on the wrong side of some close races. They've been, it's not like they just disappeared. But I can't help but wonder, if we didn't have the countdown, what their mentality would have been going into Phoenix, going into Gainesville, going into some of those early season races where they were, I think, very clearly working on things other than just let's go out and do what we've done the last 4 years, because they know people catch up. And if you don't keep trying to get ahead, pretty soon you're going to get run over, because the guys behind you are trying stuff. And if you don't spend some time trying stuff, then they're going to catch you. So,
and they're working. Well, they got to be able to run with Grubnick. Like, that's it. That's the new standard, right? You got to be able to run with him down the back after the track. You got to do it. Brittany's lights are better. Everything's better. And they're looking like a favorite this season. And we'll see what happens. But it's just a story, right? Like, nobody loves to hear the story. Like, the Yankees were the best team in baseball, and now they're not anymore. Nobody likes to talk about that, but it's just a statement of fact, and we'll see where they go with it. When you look at Funny Car, right? Like, obviously Mike Salinas, Justin Ashley, I want to mention all these guys. We're going to Kansas. It's going to be so hot. Hot track tune-up is going to matter. But let's think about Funny Car. Who's impressed me?
But Kansas, just one real quick, Kansas has got an amazing facility. And Kansas is one of those places that normally acts 15 degrees or so cooler than the track temperature. So that's something you're going to have to get your head wrapped around. If you go up there and the track temperature is 132, you better treat it like it's 120.
There you go. Well, thank God. I plan to wear a hat, I think, this weekend. One of those deals.
Not one like Jason's, I hope.
No, you're against it too. We all listen.
You should get a sombrero. You should get one of those gigantic, 4-foot diameter beach umbrellas that fits on your head.
We can get him that. Yeah, Jason with his hat, but we'll work on it. Funny Car, John Force, man. Like, this guy, every year, John Force, and he's always telling you how old he is and how creaky he is and all of this and that. The guy's sitting 4th in the point standings. Yeah, everybody's chasing Robert Hite by a lot. 228 ahead of Matt Hagan after the slump that Hagan just fell into. But like we've been saying, what's the difference between first and second in the countdown? Just a couple of points. Maybe Dickey and those guys were trying that last thing that's going to help them win the countdown. We don't know. But I don't think we can say enough. Like, what an amazing person John Force is. The ability that team, Danny Hood and Tim Fabrizi, they're sitting 4th in points in Funny Car and have gone, many rounds, and they're always in the mix. They got one of the faster cars out there. Like, I don't know. The guy's 73. I can't get off of the fact that I don't see too many other 73-year-old athletes at the top of their game.
Well, I could introduce you to Pat Dakin. He's older than John, believe it or not.
He is older. I love Pat. I love Pat.
But, in the sport, the car does so much of the work. You still got to have the ability to drive it, and you still got to do more than just like hit the gas on time and do things. But because the experience matters, I think you can keep going in this sport certainly longer than you can in a lot of other, even NASCAR. And NASCAR, simply because you don't take nearly as many hits here. John's had a couple of doozies in his career, but you look at the guys in NASCAR and the fact that they are regularly bouncing off of each other and bouncing off walls, and that's going to take its toll over a 15 or 20 year career, where in drag racing you don't have so much of that impact. And again, that's just going to take its toll as you get older. So I think that's one of the reasons that longevity. Force's car needs to find a little consistency, though. In qualifying, there have been a couple of times when they were lucky there weren't 18 cars there, or they really looked like they would have been Sunday spectators. So I think those guys need to find a little bit more Friday, Saturday consistency. On Sunday, they've been pretty solid. But, if we get to Indy and there's 18 or 20 cars there, you better not go in there thinking, okay, well, as long as we run 465, we're going to be good.
Okay, Jolie Stanfield out there says, hey, Greg Stanfield says he still loves you, Alan. So I know you were concerned. That's going on. And Chris, who ran the race this weekend at Route 66 or managed the track or whatever the deal was, says it was way cool to have you announcing out at Route 66, Alan. So everyone's appreciative, and pretty much everybody agrees that Jason's hat is terrible. So we're up to speed there. All right, let's
thank you, Chris, and for everybody that came by and said something about me being there. Tell Will Tharp, he's the reason. He called me, he reached out, he said, I need to have you here. What do we got to do? And made it happen. So it was my pleasure to be there, but please let Will know, because he's the reason. And as far as Greg Stanfield, yeah, Greg loves me so much, he sends me pictures of him sitting on the beach.
Yeah.
When, we're boiling in wherever it was we were boiling, Seattle. So, yeah. Thanks, Craig. I'll be sure and remember you the next time I've got a beer in one hand and an ocean 4 feet away from me.
Listen, the guy is something special. And I want to, let's talk pro stock. Okay, let's just move into pro stock. Same situation, right? Like Erica, it's Robert Hight way ahead, Erica way ahead. I don't know. I don't want to say I don't see Erica not winning the championship. I don't want to say that. But in the world that Erica doesn't continue this domination and go on to win the championship, boy, that's going to be an ugly thing, right? To have the wheels come off if after a season to this point, if somehow in the cosmos it finds a way to go wrong, that's going to be ugly.
Well, I see, Erica certainly has got the best car out there, but she's got a lot of competition from inside her own team. I think Aaron Stanfield has the second best car out there, and there's nobody that thinks Aaron's going to be the weak link on that team. So Erica's going to have to keep doing what she's doing. The team, everybody else can't relax. I'm wondering if they're going to bring that new car out, or if they'll just go, you know what, shove that thing over in a corner for the rest of the year, because I think it'd be pretty silly to take the one that she's been dominating with and put it away. I think Troy Coughlin, with the big boost that he got to his confidence last weekend, or in Seattle, that is, I think he's going to be an even tougher player than he was. And, the KB guys are just kind of like bubbling right there just under the surface. I don't know what it's going to take for them to all just, jump up again. But, they're certainly not out of it. And, the countdown format lends itself to late season drama. So I think Erica certainly has the car to beat. I do think it's pretty much her championship to lose, but I don't think that she is so far in front that nobody can challenge her. Right? And again, I think her best competition might just be coming from Aaron.
Yeah, maybe so. We'll see. And Greg Anderson, though, made the little noise, got that number one. Let's see him go again. Let's see him go out there this weekend and inject himself into the fight. I think that would be pretty interesting. And others out there have been running well, but it's just been a season of Erica. Sometimes that happens. It's been a season of Erica to this point, a dominant season. The races she hasn't won, she's runnered up by a 10,000th of a second, or smoke-filled cockpit, almost trying to win, just these amazing moments. But we'll see if they can keep going. Pro Stock Motorcycle, haven't been to Topeka in a while. I spoke with Angel. She's like, if I can remember how to get to the track, that's kind of interesting.
Well, just go to Forbes Field and then go another half a mile and you'll be right there. No, it has been a while since the bikes have been there. Looking forward to having them back. I guess Matt's going to be back on the Suzuki, I'm assuming, on a warm day. I'm thinking that Buell may have a little bit of an advantage out there, just strictly based on the fact that with less quality air, being able to ingest more of it, I would think would be a positive. And since the Buell has, the larger engine by a considerable amount, that might be a little bit of an advantage there. Kind of like it is on the mountain when you've got thin air. Having the ability to put more of it through the engine might be the determining factor. But there's still, there's Matt. Steve Johnson has come back to earth a little bit, but he's now had a little bit of time off, 3 weeks to go home and go through and massage his program. So, I'm sure that he's geared up and ready to go. But we'll see. I think that, that's probably the most wide open as far as the first 3 or 4 of any of the categories right now is Pro Stock Motorcycle, I think.
Absolutely, Scott. It's, we could have 2 female champions. Could happen in 22. Well, we could actually have more than that. It's pretty amazing. And here's a little news flash that I just got posted on social media via Bo Butner, via Rick Jones. The new Erica RJ race car will be out there this weekend, and it will be driven by Bo Butner, and it's going to be labeled up Johnson's Horsepower Garage. So Elite has found a way to test the car and keep Erica in her car, and they're going to be sorting this one out, and who knows, it might be better. But so it looks like Bo will be driving the new RJ car for Elite Motorsports. It's red as can be. Doesn't have eyelashes on it just yet, though.
So is that 3 or 4?
3 or 4.
How many new cars have they built for Erica and then gone,
I think
go ahead and take this one?
It's at least 3. It's at least 3. It's at least 3. And yeah, and so
see, and if I'm Bo, I'm going, no, this isn't right. I'll take the hand-me-down.
Yeah, give me her car and give her the new car. That's what I want. I want her car. No, it's sorted out. Well, the thing about the car Bo has had, they just have been just trying to fight it. And so you know what? They have worked the problem, and now they're going to figure out a new problem. Just like Chris McGahey with his new Haas car, right? They're like, we can't figure it out in the middle of the season. We'll figure it out at another time. We're going to go back to what's working. These guys, they were working on Bo's car. They just couldn't get it going. All right, new car. Let's start the new problem. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't call it necessarily cutting bait, but it's just stop bashing your head against the wall over and over again. Do something different. That's going to help out for the long term. Oh, there's garbage.
Yep, the garbage pickup. It's Tuesday. I'm assuming that they either are or have been someplace beating on that thing, because I do not believe they're going to bring a brand new car down from Illinois and just unload it for Q1. I'm sure they've gone someplace with the thing and at least made a few hits.
Yeah, exactly. Any final thoughts out there, Alan? As we get ready for another race weekend, there's some stuff going on out there that, like the drag racing world is so big. What has piqued your curiosity?
Well, just that it's coming down to crunch time. It's been, a very, very busy year, and I'm just, I think I've got a weekend after Indy where I might go find some place to sit on a beach with a beer and send a picture to Craig Stanfield every 12 seconds. But I'm just, it's getting down to crunch time, and watching the teams go through, either trying to stay where you're at or trying to make sure that you're where you need to be by the time we get to Indy. It's been a pretty wild year so far, and I think the roller coaster is going to keep going. Looking forward to this weekend, and then I'm going straight to Brainerd. I'm not even coming home after Topeka. So just, on we go.
Were you sad about Olivia Newton-John?
Yeah, I mean, how can you not be, right? In my generation, you grew up and her in Grease and all of the, her songs on the radio and all of this stuff. I think that, it's always tragic when, somebody that you loved in your youth passes on, but Father Time remains undefeated.
That's a fact. Xanadu. She was really hot in Xanadu. What are you going to do? All right, Alan, I'll see you in a couple of days. Appreciate you. Kansas, baby. Here we go.
Travel safe and bring sunscreen.
There you go. There he goes. The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, joins us each week right here on WFO Radio. All right, we got Troy Williams Jr. coming up. Real quick, though, I want to tell you about these couple people who have been sponsors of WFO for a long time. Marvin Rodak, 817-924-6821. Custom coffee, blended for you, like a little of this, a little of that. He does the WFO Radio Blend, Bang the Blower, many others. Give him a call. Hot sauces, spice rubs, everything good. And it's so worth it, so much better than the vacuum-packed stuff you get in the grocery store. Frank Hawley's drag racing school. There's a great article up on Competition Plus right now and out there in the ether about the Powicks going out there. Cassandra, Kyle going out there getting the Super Comp licenses at Hawley's drag racing school. What does that mean? What are they going to do? What's next? Let's get them out there, and I think it will be great. You can do it as well. FrankHawley.com, the Dragster Adventure, to get a little taste of NHRA drag racing, and then you'll be hooked just like the rest of us. And then samtech.edu for you machinists. You know, these cars don't go down the racetrack without engine builders. They don't. And drag racing is getting more and more popular. We need more and more engines. We need more and more engine builders so that they can compete against each other and bring the cost down a little bit for everybody. Samtech.edu. Get in that world. Call Brian Massengill. Tell him you heard about it on WFO Radio and inquire about the classes that they have. All right, let's bring on a friend of mine for many years, many years, who whenever he does something extraordinary, I just pop him a text and he comes on the show. He also works at FTI Performance, Mr. Troy Williams Jr. What's up, Troy? How are you?
Oh, man, just working away, bud. What have you been up to?
Not working away this past weekend. I took a weekend to take care of stuff around the house while you were out there getting it done. I know Dave won the big check, $100,000, but I wanted to talk to you about your amazing final round, because as the story was conveyed to me, and I wasn't watching, I was doing other stuff, but as the story was conveyed to me, I put myself in your position and I couldn't imagine how rapidly you processed all the angles and did what you did. So can you please set the scene of your matchup before, you go into the stage beams and everything for our audience out there, because this was not just about $10,000. It was about a fellow racer emotion. It was what?
Oh, it was a $50,000 race.
$50,000 race. So even more so. So set the scene, Troy, and then later on I'm going to ask you about FTI, but go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. Well, Jeff Serra is probably, if not the most respected racer right now, he's one of the top few. And he's a good friend of mine. But all that aside, I mean, whenever we pulled out to make the run, I typically pre-stage fairly quickly. I pre-staged and he pre-staged. Go ahead, bump in, and then he just didn't stage. He got timed out. He sat there for 10 seconds. And I just didn't want to win that way. I mean, I just mainly I wouldn't want to beat anyone that way, but especially with the hype leading up to him and I racing each other and him being a friend of mine, I just didn't want it to shake down like that. So backed up and redid it. Okay. So for everybody out there who maybe doesn't follow big money bracket racing, I misreported it was 10 grand. It was $50,000. This is in addition to working at FTI. This is how Troy makes his money. He and his brother have both won the million, the big money rack. You get to the final round of a race, and your opponent, Jeff, like that family has had a tough situation this year. Sean killed. And so he lost his brother. He makes it to the final round of this race. He wants to win. Now, the red light comes on and your win light comes on. In that moment, to go against like all training, like I won, and shut it down and say no and back up and re-rack the race and potentially give back $50,000. Like you're sure that goes against every bit of programming that you could possibly have received over 100 years of racing. Sure. Like, I want to know how you did that, Troy, like how you turned that off. Nope. That's not how I want to win it. Let's do it again. And how'd you explain that to the starter? Like, no, guys, like I'm to stage. He was taking so long to get in that I thought he was going to get auto started. I was literally thinking the red light was coming on any second. And when it did, I just, I let off the button, the car rolled out of the beams, and I looked over at him and just gave him the back up, and he went like, okay. And we just backed up. I mean, man, just knowing Jeff, he's got, I really think he wasn't paying attention when I staged or something. I don't think he meant to take that long, but I mean, regardless, like you said, it definitely, the win light was on. I won. We had split the money kind of close, but we were still racing for 5,000 difference. Right. So, I mean, it's still a $5,000 hit if he beats me. And I was 000. I could have easily been 1,000 red, Yeah. So let's tell that story. So I just want to me, Troy, you're a friend.
And it's probably like, you know, I get weird when people talk about positive things that I do to my face too, right? But like, this is an act of sportsmanship, the likes of which, you know, you might wait for a guy who's having trouble starting his car.
Sure.
That happens. But that's before the races happened, right? Like, you won. And you said, no, erase that result. We're going to go back and we're going to do it again. And you did. And tell us the race, because I think that is you said you were Trip Zip. You were perfect on the tree. What was he? What were you? Take us down the racetrack and the ultimate result.
I was 000. He was 10. We were both carrying. He was ultimately carrying more than he thought. I think he thought he was carrying 3 or 4. I think he was going further under than that. I was carrying 3, and I killed my 3 to dead on. So I put down 8 total, killing 9 mile an hour, and he was 10 and 300s under, getting there 30.
Yeah. Okay. So there it is. 8 total, guys, in the final, re-racking. And I think that's the cosmos, like saying, hey, man, you did the right thing. Like, 1 foul, like you said, it could have been red. I think the racing gods, they pay attention. They're like, boo, that we never seen that before. Can't, send him home a loser.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I wouldn't want anyone to lose that way, really. Everything Jeff and his family's going through, and him being a good friend of mine, may have played into it in my head. It happened so quickly, I really don't know. But I wouldn't want to beat anyone like that, to be honest with you. If I felt like they were being malicious and trying to hang me out, I would feel differently about it. But like I said, he looks around a lot in the car. I just think he got lost with when I actually staged. I don't think he would have intentionally let me sit there for 10 seconds without staging.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, whatever the reason is, like, you took it into your hands, you took it out of the officials' hands, you took it into your hands, you said, no, we are going to do this the right way. You got down to the top end of the racetrack. I don't know if you want to share like what you guys said to each other down there, but I know you came back up the return road and paid tribute to Sean.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And we've all had decals and stuff, and that have 139P on it forever, which is Sean's number. And man, it's just to lose someone like Sean, like just a really great kid, man, all around, just a really, really good dude that young, and just a tragic car accident. I mean, there was really nothing else, totally unexpected, obviously, just on their way home, and overturned vehicle deal, got ejected, and it's just terrible, man. I can't imagine what him and his family are going through. I know what it's like just being a friend, let alone a brother,
Yeah. Well, and that's the downside of making so many great friends, right? Is like your exposure to these kinds of tragedies. And I didn't know Sean, and I'm always very careful of not like overstating my relationships with people. But as a drag racer, part of this community, I've experienced something, and it's not good. And that's why I wanted you on, man. Like, cause I think this is like a great moment to spotlight. Like, even though you won, what you did is part of that. It's part of it. And it's not, it deserves a little, for my guys, however many of them are out there on WFO, to know that you did it. And I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of that. Like, to me, that's the act of sportsmanship of the year so far. I don't know what craziness is going to have to happen.
I definitely, I feel like most, in general, drag racers are more supportive of each other than most any other form of sport, or especially motorsport. Like oval track, I feel like is a lot more cutthroat. And even the heads up stuff probably is a little more so than bracket racing, maybe just, secret keeping and trying to get the upper hand no matter what, where bracket racing is supposed to be a level playing field. Right. But, I just wish there was more respect. I wish some of the younger guys wouldn't, rip the gas after the finish line or take forever to pre-stage, just trying to get in people's heads, just be, I don't know, more sportsmanlike, I guess. But hopefully, try to teach them by example.
Well, exactly. And how about, see, Troy, what's weird is that bracket racing is still relatively new. You're generation 2 or maybe 3, and now your kids are generation 4. And should there be sportsmanship? Like, it's no different than flipping the bat on a home run. Like, a lot of those old school guys don't like that, but humiliating your opponent. Like, I don't know. Why do we have to do that? Right around the corner, you're going to get humiliated. Like, it's the way it is.
Yeah, like I try to, in between the start line and finish line, if I want to do any disrespect, that's where it's going to be. That's where we're going to be popping the gas and hitting the brakes. But the shutdown or prior to the race, I'm not a big fan of any of that. But like I said, try to teach through example.
Exactly. All right. So speaking of example, this is a dual interview here. That was the very emotional and drag racing performance oriented portion of it. But another portion of it is, like I've been saying now, Paul Lee at PRI last year said, hey, man, I want to sponsor your show. And he understands that we're trying to make drag racing fans into drag racers, frankly. And we've got a couple that we've already done. And that bracket racing is a great way, and start climbing that ladder. And you're at the very top of that ladder. But FTI makes a great product. You've worked there for a long time. And what I don't understand is how any company starts off in such a specific industry that has been around for so long and immediately starts to dominate. It's really been a little more than 10 years, and FTI is at the forefront, certainly, one of the best companies out there. You've been there for what, the whole time? How did it happen?
I've been there almost 12 years now. They started probably 2 or 3 years prior to me starting to work with Greg. But I really think the turning point, Greg was a racer, is a racer. Now, although he doesn't race very much lately, I've been trying to get him to come out and jump in a car. But, his involvement he pretty much stayed in the Southeast United States because of his business and his family and everything. And, when I started working there, we took it more on the road. But, his passion to do the right thing and to help people is really what grew the business. It's being there, being at the track and lending support. And if somebody has a problem with a converter, taking care of it, that type of thing. I think that was our customer service is what set us apart and helped us grow, in a market that at the time really wasn't growing. I don't think there was hardly any other business and 10 years ago that was flourishing, and we were doing very well,
Yeah. And winning all those races, and showing the product works, right? Like, there are racers, good racers, but if the car doesn't repeat, it's a lot harder.
We actually had product demonstrator on the side of one of our cars. Like, it was pretty funny. We were putting the FTI test vehicle and FTI product demonstrator and just different things on different cars. Or, at one point it was kind of funny, but I think, if there's a lot of good companies out there, man. There's several good converter and transmission companies. What sets ours apart is the fact that, there's so many racers that work there, and the fact that we truly care, and we're out there to give you guys support and to make sure that you have the right product for the right application.
And speaking of which, we here on WFO, we, .90, big money brackets, right? Like all the stuff we see at the NHRA on a regular basis. But that's not just it, right? There's powerful automatic transmissions, period, out there on the roads. You guys do stuff for everybody else. So there's a lot of people with powerful classics, et cetera, and so on. I tried to tell that story. I know, Top Sportsman, Pro Mod, et cetera, powerful automatics, but why don't you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We do everything from the most casual, street-driven little hot rod that, they want to take to a car show and peel a wheel every once in a while, all the way to monster trucks. Almost without exception, almost every independent monster truck has our transmissions and converters on. Mega trucks, monster trucks, drag racing of every. Greg even has converters in some alcohol cars, A-fuel cars and such. It's every sort of motorsport. If it has a transmission converter, for the most part, we can do it.
So it's okay. But that's great though, because we do have a lot of those people like, okay, Joe, I have a little car that I'm going to do the transmission on, and I'd love to support your show and your sponsors, but I'm not going .90 racing at the U.S. Nationals, bro. So I don't think I need FTI. That's you guys do stuff for those guys too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We have a whole line that's our SB series that is street brawlers. We make them for about every lockup transmission. There's the ESR series, which is the economy street race series that's for the non-lockups. We cover the spectrum.
That's great. That's great. All right. What about you? You won the U.S. Nationals a couple of years ago. Was that last year? Was that 2 years ago? When was that?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
19.
You don't always run, NHRA stuff because you're out there chasing these 50 grand checks, et cetera, and so on and working. You going to do anything this year? Are we going to see you at the big go? I'm putting you right on the spot. I don't know what the answer is.
I don't know. I probably not this year, maybe next year. I think Braden may get a divisional. If they do, that'll give me a divisional in Gainesville, Braden, and South Georgia. And I'll probably run some NHRA stuff next year. It's just there's so many. What allowed me to do it that year, believe it or not, was COVID, because they pretty much, we ran double divisionals. We ran the sports nationals and divisional in Columbus, so I didn't have to dedicate a lot of weekends to NHRA. So it was easy for me to compete for the points and run it. And then obviously I ran enough races to enter Indy, which I don't normally have enough grade points to run Indy. So whenever I did, I went ahead and ran it. So it's just one of those bucket list things. I'd only got to run Indy one other time in my whole career, and I wanted, obviously I think everybody who races, who does any sort of class racing, ultimately would like to win the U.S. Nationals. So given the opportunity to compete, I went ahead and did that.
Yeah, no, excellent stuff. And I got to see Tyler Bohannon win a national event out in Norwalk and see the effect that it had on him. And that made me feel great about, it made me feel great about the sport, right? Because those are genuine emotions. Speaking of which, though, you mentioned Bradenton. What do you think about what they got going on down there? You already kind of let the cat out of the bag on something, and I'm hoping that is true. I have no knowledge of it, but that is a track for people who don't know. Troy's parents ran that track for many, many years. You've got to view that place like your childhood home. They've spent a ton of money on it. It's got to make you feel good.
Yeah, man. Victor and Wade have done a great job. The place is phenomenal. I've only been by it. I haven't got to go down it since they totally concreted 1,000 foot and unfortunately they got the stands from Palm Beach. But we
did what we could, man. We fought as hard as we could. We stopped the sale. The owners don't want it to be a track anymore. At some point, when you own something, you get to decide what happens with it. They don't want it to be a track. We fought as hard as we could, respectfully.
Absolutely, man. I guess the stands went to a good cause, making Braden nicer. So, yeah, it's really, really great to see. Some of the problem with my parents whenever they ran it was they just leased it. They didn't actually own it. So to spend that kind of money improving a facility that ultimately you don't own was pretty much out of the question. And Victor's just, man, he's dumping money into that place. It is. It's going to be, Gainesville's hard to compete with, but it's going to be one of the nicest tracks in Florida for sure.
That's awesome.
If not, we need it. Second nicest.
Well, we need it. And now without West Palm, it's 3 hours over there from here, but that's manageable. And to have, if NHRA were to decide to put a divisional there, that would be the furthest, maybe not the furthest south divisional, but if we can keep things going, we gotta give people down here an option south of Gainesville. And that would be really nice. So let's hope it all works out. And no disrespect to Orlando, we appreciate them. We need them to stay healthy also, right? We need them both. We need them all.
I honestly, if Orlando, Braden, and South Georgia all had divisionals, that would be in Gainesville. That would be phenomenal for me. And I have no knowledge if Braden is really going to get a divisional. I would think with the improvements made to the facility that they would have to give it a look.
They should give it a look. Listen, this is an opinion show. They should definitely give it a look, right? Yeah. Because you got 4 million people down here, and the closest that level of drag racing comes is Orlando and Bradenton. You got to give more choices south in Division 2, because you're cutting off the tip of Florida if you run everything up there in north of Florida. It's just, give us a break down here. Put a little more racers in the middle, and you'll get more people from down here, like my great friend Corey Kramer, who right? He would run divisional super street if there was more stuff a little closer. Bradenton, Orlando, Gainesville, then that would inspire him to go up to some of those other tracks. But if he's got to go that far every single time, he just can't. And that's the deal.
Well, that's the problem with where we live. It's great November, December, whenever everybody else is snowed in and we're still racing. But, to go anywhere outside of Florida, the next closest track, if you include Valdosta in Florida, basically, because it's 30 miles over the line, right? So anywhere else is 8-9 hours from us down here, and that's, especially with fuel prices today, that's crazy. I mean, I've been leaving my rig based out of Indy for almost all, this pretty much since April,
Right.
That just because it's so much closer to everything, geographically, and it's $5 a gallon of fuel is crazy.
And that's why Brownsburg became the thing that it is, because everyone figured that out years ago. It's like, all right, let's build a base in the middle and then shoot out from there. And it is also true. But for divisional racing, like, don't forget us here in Florida. And I just want to commend like that tie between you and your brother running around as kids at that track. And now what it is becoming, that's got to make you feel great. Troy, thank you for coming on such short notice. Everybody needs to know, man, I popped this dude a text like minutes before the show, and you came on. And like I said, when I heard that story, I was proud to know you, man. That was really great stuff, and it should be talked about a lot more. Well,
thank you, man. Hopefully, like I said, they some people take the example and just have a little more sportsmanship out there sometimes, I mean, not that there is a lot of bad sportsmanship, but I think people could, like you said, if they, if somebody can't get started or something, give them a minute, help them out. Like, I'd wait to the end of the line on anybody if that was the case, or just, I don't know, have a little more pride in what you do. That's one thing I can say. If I would have drove down the track, I wouldn't never discount a $50,000 win, but I wouldn't feel the same way about it as I do knowing that I gave Jeff another chance and raced,
And that's it, right? No freebies. What's the point? You're there to race. Why did you come there? You came to race. That's what you want to do. You want to test your talent, your ability. You want to go against the best. And you're going to take a freebie because of a glitch. Like, I get it. I understand. That's why I reached out to you, and I'm impressed by it. And the world needs more people thinking like that. So good job. All right. Say hi to your brother. Say hi to your bro.
Will do, man. Thank you.
See you somewhere down the road, Troy. Thank you. Bye. There he goes. Troy Williams. Back to work, Troy. Back to work at FTI. Back to work. Now, guys, hopefully you understand where I'm coming from on that. Troy, we have another Troy who does the Big Money Minute on the Ignition podcast, right? Like, we're always, if you're sleeping on Ignition, I don't know what to tell you. It's just a crazy stew of information. There's football and baseball and basketball, and we're talking about world sports, things going on in Australia. We've got Matt Clark down there in Australia giving us the updates on drag racing in Australia, and we had a big battle about NHRA versus IHRA, and of course we talk NASCAR and Formula One, and we're Ferrari fans, and so we're sad and feeling shame. But Troy from Oregon is a listener who, he loves the Le Batard show. He loves this show. He loves Ignition. And he went to the Frank Hawley drag racing school, and he's a super fan of big money bracket racing. And so when this was all revealed, of course, you cannot just be hanging around without doing something to contribute. And so, in addition to him being a Patreon, by the way, and he started doing a big money bracket report, and he gave me the story on that last night on the Ignition show. And when I heard that, I'm like, I felt genuine pride that I'm Troy Williams' friend from growing up as kids, like going over there, or him coming over here, and who are these guys? They're coming in to try to beat us in Moroso. And, they did. But that's how you should be. That's how you should be when you're in sports. Like, that's how you should be. And we want our racers to fight against each other for money because you're taking meals out of you, like, Warren Johnson and Bob Glidden used to look at each other. I don't know. I think maybe what Troy just said is probably a better way to be. Probably a better way to be. What are we going to teach the kids? Man, I thought that was just a great example. So I wanted to bring him on, and there you have it. All right, so put your comments in the comment section, like this guy's comment. Let's see what he says. If you like what Joe is doing, hit the like button and be a Patreon. Yeah, totally agree with this listener. I think he's got it right. This listener has definitely got it right. You can like and share. The least you could do to help the show. Get it out there, right? Hopefully more people will understand that this is not a quick 15-second view that you forgot 10 seconds later. This is something different. It's more of a longer format. You're part of an audience. You're part of the show. We're a community. Our listeners become friends with each other and go hang out with each other. Crazy, right? But it is. And if you want to pay to be VIP, you can become a Patreon, but you do not have to. And everybody who does it seems to like it. Great show, Joe. Corey McGinn, I'm so sad. The 1 year I can't go to Topeka. They have the bikes. First time in 16 years I can't be there. Corey, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. That's terrible. You know, I was talking to Angel, and she's like, man, like we haven't been there like in ages. And it occurred to me that that's true. We have usually the Top Fuel Harleys there. You can't be there. I don't know. I would have to ask, like, why not? Maybe you can change something. Ignition, WFO with a twist and a whole lot of fun. Yeah, it's definitely different. It's definitely different. Better duplicate that club key, Joe. Shame. Great show today, Joe. Thank you, AJ. Scott. And we vandalized with WFO stickers. Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know anything about people putting WFO stickers out there on the back of signs and stuff, all these places. But you know, punk stickers back in the day, for those of you that were into the punk scene and the alternative rock scene, like wherever you go, skate, surf scene, all that, like stickers, putting your stickers on places, signs, etc., especially wherever you happen to be. That's part of the deal, right? Except they know who I am and they can just call me. Like, did you put the sticker on there? But I don't think they do. I don't think they would. But I love that the WFO stickers are out there and are a thing. All right, guys. Fun show. Good show. Thanks to Troy. Thanks to Alan. I'll be in Topeka, Kansas. Get there on Thursday. Leave on Monday. Come out to the race. This is one of those deals. Supporting drag racing. We are going to have a good time. There is no doubt. And it's Topeka. So I'm not saying that there's nothing else going on. There's other stuff going on. But I feel like we'll be the big show in town. And hopefully everybody will get behind it and get out there and come out and enjoy. Yes, it's going to be hot. I don't know what to say. It's going to be hot. This is what it is. You got to do what you got to do to get what you want to get. Thanks to Phillips Connect, Total Seal, Bernie Speed Shop, new on board with WFO Radio, and FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters. Of course, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School and Sam Tech. If you want to become an engine builder or a machinist, this is serious stuff. Call Brian Massengill. And Marvin Rodak. This is serious. If you want a great cup of coffee. Thanks to Alan and everybody. And remember, our WFO store, you can get there on the website. We're adding more and more stuff. More and more stuff. Like the Miami Hollywood Speedway classic shirts. The throwback Miami Hollywood Speedway shirts that are no longer in existence are there. Plus our WFO stuff. And things are going on sale from time to time, like $14 t-shirts every now and again. Pretty amazing. Yeah, Miami Hollywood. Gone, but not forgotten. Yeah, here's Troy. I uploaded this picture and I didn't even bother to put it up because I was so compelled with what was going on. And then Connolly, 100K in the wagon. We saw that wagon out in Norwalk. He was getting it certified. Thing is mega. All right, guys. Appreciate all of you. Thank you for being there. And now share the show. See you this weekend. Maybe we'll do something tomorrow, but check out the archive, WFO.